music, and that's why this is known as his classical symphony, or the Symphony No. 1. There's Claudio Abbado leading the Chamber Orchestra of Europe. It's the Copia on WRR.
Okay, so we have to shop smart, okay? So
Shop smart.
Right, so we're going to get, instead of bread and
Shop
tortilla.
smart with the cart.
Okay, let me finish
Shop
the
smart with the
sentence so
cart.
they can understand what I mean.
Or to the car.
Okay, so instead of bread and tortilla, then we just get tortilla. Then we get bread later. See what I'm saying? So that way we don't have too much of one thing. All right, we're about to go in. Oh, okay. This was invented by Nazis.
Now that tastes like peach tea or something. Come on, dude. Come on. Pretty cool.
All right, you got the chicken patties though. Those are pretty good.
I think it's okay, quick. It's not that simple. Do you want some? Edmund doesn't like the chicken Alfredo.
Doesn't like chicken Alfredo. What about this?
Yeah, he likes that one.
He'll take that, and then let's say cuts. Which one? Cuts right here. The $1.06 right here on cuts. And then this is like what? Like tuna.
All right, then we get crackers. I really need to get face makeup. You have to get face makeup.
Right here. Look at this. There's sea salt. Look, $2.98. These are good. All right, so that's everything right here. See, and the amount, and now we snap. All right, and that would be the amount.
There's touchscreen.
No cash back available.
5 reviews for you.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Sorry we wasted some time. 45 minutes. You know what? I'm about to text that man.
All right, 90, only 90 degrees Fahrenheit, so not too bad. We're at 214,086 miles on the odometer. It's May 29th of 2024, and watched a lot of vlogs today. I watched German in Venice. He has that one with the long word that means food intolerance or something weird. It starts with like, nah, I gotta let you go. We're gonna go off to delivery. right, 635.5, 1.9. All right, so there's an article that was released in Fort Worth Weekly going over blockbuster films. For some reason, I don't know why, and this was the best of, so this might be an older article, but this last September of 2023, they released a movie called Wildcat, directed by Ethan Hawke, starring his daughter, Maya Hawke, as Flannery O'Connor. I was a big fan of her in high school. First read her, Flannery O'Connor. I first read her story, A Good Man Is Hard to Find, and then I got into Wiser Blood later. Was a big fan of Wiser Blood. She kind of wrote a little bit about the surreal in Wiser Blood. There's so I guess it's called Skyline. There is the go-karts, Rockwood. So anyway, yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that because that's a cool biopic. It's a good idea. Blaze was good. I liked Blaze. As Ethan Hawke as a director, I think he's exceptional. His color code, everything to his acting and everything. Blaze worked as a movie. It has emotional connection, and it's about an important figure of Texas known as Blaze Foley, who was a guy that was a horrible drunk, and they call him the duct tape messiah. And that one was very good. I've not seen Wildcat, but it's already been released, so I'll have to see it. Don't know if there's any Oscar nods or anything. Blaze didn't get a lot of attention. I thought Blaze should have been Best Picture when it was released. And the guy that played him, who is also a musician, I thought he should have been up for Best Actor. They big time got ripped off. So I'm doing research on Flannery O'Connor. I didn't know this movie had been out for almost a year with Maya Hawke. Maya Hawke became famous. Ethan Hawke is famous, one of our more famous movie stars, iconically famous, I guess you could say. He's a household name. There are a lot of movie stars nowadays that a lot of people don't even know who they are. But Ethan Hawke is one of the many of our generation where we know, he's not necessarily Marlon Brando, I wouldn't say. I mean, because there's only one Marlon Brando. Everyone's compared to Marlon Brando. Philip Seymour Hoffman, I think, had been compared to Marlon Brando, maybe. But Marlon Brando is an exception to the rule of being compared to. You can compare anybody to Marlon Brando. But he was a generation movie star. Like Reality Bites was a generational film about our generation, of the Generation X. He's relatively my age. And when I was younger and I was at the actor studio, a lot of people said I kind of looked like him a little bit, but they also said that I look like Paul Rudd too, but now that I'm a little heftier, I don't know. But regardless about weight gain and all that kind of stuff, Ethan became a pretty good director. He's really gotten actors. It's hard for them to reach the level of direction, unless, of course, they're Orson Welles, And Orson Welles took it to the top. I mean, he went overboard. And he only directed a few famous films, not many. A Touch of Evil, and of course, the one that everyone knows, Citizen Kane. But Blaze, I was real impressed with Blaze, and I realized it was directed by Ethan Hawke. Now this Flannery O'Connor thing is gonna, they're gonna you put the films up to bat. Like, does he still have it? Is it gonna hold water? Is it gonna resonate? I don't know. I'd have to see it. But it's interesting because he's in it. And also what's interesting is his daughter's in it. So it's like a family film. Yeah, it's exciting, though. Flannery O'Connor, always one of my favorites, if not one of my favorite writers, was an amazing writer. And to do a biopic on her is an amazing feat. Because we need that for literature class. We need it so that for posterity. We need it so that we know who this person was of the South, which I don't really know. It's weird with me and my memory. I got to tell you this. And this is kind of a sad thing because it shows about movies, stories, writers, but here's that sad thing. My memory is very compartmentalized, so I have to go back and reread and study I can't just sit there and start talking about Flannery O'Connor. Now, I did find out for one thing that she's Catholic, which I have to double check on that, but that's one thing. Which I'm not surprised, because I like a lot of Catholic artists, although I'm very much Protestant. But that might be something in the mix. Another thing was that she seemed to be very much an oddball. So we're gonna. Laura Linney is in this. This is a chick that's in the movie Ozarks with Bateman. But anyway, this movie isn't necessarily what made Maya Hawke famous, because I was talking about famous. What made her famous was Stranger Things, which I didn't even know she was in. And I found out about Stranger Things. I've dropped my Netflix years ago, so I don't talk about new Netflix stuff. I don't talk about Apple. I talk about things that I find, and then I do research on Wikipedia. $714.5 2.7. All right, so back to Flannery O'Connor. It's a hard one to say. Flannery? Yeah, Flannery O'Connor. I think it's Maya Hawke. Sorry about that. I have to find out names and stuff. When I first start doing this, I do it for the sake of note takings. So you're listening to a lot of notes and stuff, which I think is kind of cool. But her name is Maya Hawke. She's the daughter of Ethan Hawke. The movie's called Wildcat. And it was released September, I believe September 23rd, maybe, of 2023. I don't know the exact release date. I don't think it matters. But it was September of 2020. Well, yeah, September of 2023. It's weird to say that. That's weird to say these dates, 2023. I was reading Flannery O'Connor back in like 1992. I think I call her Flannery, because I had this horrible accent I had to get rid of. You know, I kind of talk with this big twang, and it wasn't really that bad, but there was a twang. And then I got rid of it after a while, and I can bring it back every once in a while. But she wrote about hoodoo. So did Tennessee Williams. But hoodoo is like a Gothic version of voodoo in the South. So it came from the slaves. She was a serious writer. Flannery O'Connor, that name can raise a few eyebrows. But I didn't read all her work. I only read some of it. I read Wise Blood, and I read A Good Man's Hard to Find. But I did the fact check, and yeah, Flannery O'Connor was Catholic. So that explains some of it. Now, in the movie, and I've only seen clips from the movie. I haven't seen the movie yet. So I'm not saying good or bad on the movie. I don't do that until I see the movie. I've done it a few times, I'm not going to lie. Just because I can't see all these movies. I can't watch every single movie. Not everybody can. But I would like to see all of Ethan Hawke's work. Although I didn't see his documentary about Seymour. But I saw that he attempted to make a documentary about a musician. And then I also saw that he did Blaze, and I was impressed with Blaze. I saw Blaze. There was nothing. I thought there was no flaw in Blaze. I thought Blaze got overlooked because he was a movie star, director, and they sometimes overlook those guys, and they don't give them all the credit they should. But you know, there are really good directors that are also movie stars. One is Tim Robbins, who did Shawshank Redemption, which is basically. Oh, no, I'm sorry. He starred in that. That was Frank Darabont. Sorry about that, Frank Darabont. Sorry. Tim Robbins directed Dead Men Walking with Sean Penn, which I thought deserved Best Picture. Well, one of the best pictures of that year. Sean Penn was really good in it. And that was done by an actor, Tim Robbins. So is Orson Welles' Citizen Kane. So we do know that the actors can direct. And also, Ethan Hawke was given an award for stage direction when he directed Lie of the Mind, a Sam Shepard piece. He was given like a Best Director award for stage, and then I have to find out the type of award. It's something like an Obie or something like that. I don't know if it was a Tony, but regardless, it was an important award. And you know, he has the ability to maybe make a Best Picture. But I like his color code, and I like the idea of writing about Southern Gothic, which is kind of Blaze Foley a little bit. Blaze Foley had a little bit of that in there. Not a lot of hoodoo, but there was some moments, because there was a moment when Blaze writes on the wall. He writes his, he goes into this house. They finally get this house because he lived homeless for a long time. He lived in a tree house, He even wrote music about it. And they finally got this house, him and his companion, and he wrote on the walls the whole song. It was kind of a hoodoo kind of thing, a real weird kind of thing. But hoodoo is basically Southern voodoo, or Southern Gothic is what Flannery O'Connor wrote about. And so I have not seen the movie. I would learn a lot about Flannery O'Connor. It's like some of these movies that you get to see, it strikes an interest in a person or writer or author, and then you go off and you do further research, and you're like, it's like a learning experience. It inspires you to investigate this person, the reason they were published, the reason they became a famous writer. There's reasoning for this, and she was known as a literary genius, and people even today study her and get their master's thesis. You know, they can get a doctorate in the studying of just Flannery O'Connor or Gothic, Southern Gothic writers, or what you could say hoodoo, you know, Southern Gothic writers. You know, so we know she was Catholic. Now I did do some research on Ethan Hawke to try to find out what's his story. And Ethan Hawke has an interesting story. So his parents, both his mom and dad, they met in Fort Worth, where we're at now. They eventually did make it to UT Austin, and he was born in 1970, so he's older than I am. I've seen Ethan Hawke, like I've seen him live. I guess I always say that, and I'm like, what do you mean you've seen him live? Well, I went to the Actor Studio, so he was interviewed in the year I was there, and I got to see an interview with him, and I would take notes and stuff because I wasn't completely eating right, and I was kind of a little airheaded, and just things would just kind of go through one ear and out the other. So we took notes, and like all those notes I left in a storage unit somewhere in Manhattan. A lot of them. One of them I think turned into a play, or at least a screenplay. Chapter 27, I think they found some of that. But I was writing at the time. I was writing a book about a wolf, and kind of a book a little bit about a shape-shifting wolf, but it wasn't about a werewolf. But it was about a reporter that gets bitten or killed by a wolf and then turns into the wolf, and then it goes and follows the wolf. It was called Trapped in 3. At the time, I had called it just Trapped, which is a very kind of common title. You don't ever want to do that with a book. Flannery O'Connor stuff, it has almost like a sentence as a title. A Good Man is Hard to Find. That's like a short story, right? And then Wise Blood, that really sticks out. It's smart to do. She was a smart writer. I'll find out about her. I'll study a little bit, and maybe I don't know how long I'll go on about Flannery, but she was born in Savannah, Georgia, which I've been there too. That's where Grim Life Collective kind of started. Savannah, Georgia is very hoodoo, lots of ghost stories. When you go there, you can go on these rides and stuff, and like they explore the otherworldly. This is kind of a weird place. I get weird vibes on some of these places, but this one, anyway, looks like they've been cooking. So Flannery O'Connor was born on March 25th of 1925, and she died in 64. She died about in her 30s. She died of lupus. She got sick and then eventually passed away. But she did get a National Book Award in 1972, I believe, for her compiled works. So she's considered a master writer. So it's a good story. And I haven't read anything from Flannery O'Connor that I didn't like. And it gets your attention. So you start to read and you really hear a voice. You know, you don't get that with all writers. I mean, even times, I have to tell you the truth, even with Stephen King, at times, I don't always get a voice, but I get a story. You know what I mean? I don't mean to be mean to Stephen King, because there are times in his memoirs where I do hear a voice. You know, there are strong voices out there, like Hemingway, for an example. When you'd read Hemingway's books, you heard a voice speaking. That's Flannery. You could hear her speaking. It's eerie. It's strikingly eerie, and it's amazing that she went so far as a writer, then of course died. She didn't even make it in her 40s, so she died in her 60s. I'm sorry, she died in 64. She died in 1964. She died in her late 30s. I think she was almost 40. So Flannery O'Connor died in the county seat of Baldwin. But like I said, she was from Savannah. So it's interesting. She didn't die in her hometown or anything. She traveled a little bit. This looks like an interesting story for Maya, because Maya, I don't know much about her. I know that I watched Stranger Things, and I even know that was Ethan Hawke's daughter when I saw it. And I was a big fan of Stranger Things when I thought I liked all the characters and everything. I didn't get to see all of it out though. My life changed dramatically during the Stranger Things. Well, Stranger Things had a big impact on me. I'll tell you why. I wrote a play called what is that play? The one that had, Hidden Drive. Yeah, so Hidden Drive was a series. It went through a bunch of different series. So it started off called Homesickness, and then it changed to Homesickness for a Broken World. Then I realized that this is not the real title. This is the play, or this is the story that the protagonist is writing, because it was about a writer in I believe his name is Peter Wright, in Hidden Drive, right? So what was weird was I wrote all these descriptions in the beginning, and I didn't realize like why I wrote them all. And it was like I asked for almost a very weird, I think I'm a little bit prophetic, because I asked for basically dust to be within, and I don't know how they would do this. And I remember when I wrote it, and I was talking to the actors when we did the reading on SoundCloud, I thought, like, how would they do this, you know? And I wanted dust to be within the set. So it was basically an old, dilapidated cabin, which isn't exactly a great description, but that was all I could think of at the time, the word dilapidated. Probably it's a rebuilt, dilapidated cabin with lots of dust. You know, and you know, my mom's cabin, which is not even really a cabin, in Parkman, is probably where I loosely kind of got the idea. But I wanted to write about this writer that was kind of like forgotten in Maine on the Moosehead Trail, that's woken up by this young lady named Angie Summers. Some of the actors and stuff that read for this went off to Brooklyn, and like they were on their way to New York, and like they had come through my apartment in Irving and helped me do this reading. Like they were very dedicated and quiet and listened to all my direction, and we never rehearsed it. You know, they had to read it on their own. So my message is, it was only going to be a reading. So I said, well, guys, you're going to have to do all the work yourself. When you bring it to the reading, you know, be prepared. And there were some people that were very prepared, and then there were some people that were, you know, in other plays. I did a series of 3 plays on readings. And anyway, when I did write it, when I wrote Hidden Drive, I realized what I was doing. And what I was doing is I had watched a lot of Stranger Things, and I was describing the upside down in the opening. It's very crazy. I was like, okay, this is what this really is. Because I used to think, like, what am I doing here? What was I trying to say when I was doing this description? Because it looked like I was writing. I mentioned ebionic fluid. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right. That's the fluid that's inside the belly of a woman when there's a baby in there. And that was kind of like the fluid of the dust on stage. And like, how would you even do that? I thought, well, this is interesting. I like the idea. So Hidden Drive is that way, you know, but they don't ever refer to it. But there is, I have to go back and read the descriptions. Okay, you have to go back and read that. It'd be tough to do, but it could be done maybe with lighting and stuff, because you can see the dust. So that's what dust kind of is like. If you ever seen a sonogram, it does look a little like dust, right? So it's inside this house, and the dust is floating around, and I've seen it on camera and stuff like that. You see dust particles go by. But that's what you would be seeing throughout, I guess, the play. And I was referring also to American Gothic, too. There's a clear statement in the play that requires them to stand like the photo, or really it's a painting, American Gothic. Anyway, you have to read Hidden Drive, but if you ever can get a hold of it. I refer to it as a connection in my description under Ash Cole. But anyway, we read Hidden Drive. There was some laughter. I got some laughter from the actors, which I thought was a little kind of, you know, I don't know if it picked up on the mic because, you know, they were supposed to be in character. But it deals also with like Google. So Google's mentioned. I call it a Google home box because I didn't really want to use a device that was already being sold on the market, so I made up one from Google, and it was like they're you know, they're talking and stuff. Anyway, the reason why I'm going off on a tangent about Stranger Things is because it was connected to my own writing, which goes all the way back to the Flannery O'Connor, which goes back to Wildcats. So there's a connection there, meaning there's a connection with writers, you know. But I'm really proud of Hidden Drive. If they ever can dig it up and do it, it'd be cool to see it done. Seven 4 8 10 4.7.